Episode 14 of My Happy Ending starts with a flashback from before Sun-young's death. After Sun-young apologizes to Yoon-jin, he leaves her studio to meet Professor Lee. He hands over the flash drive to him and asks him to keep it safe. However, Tae-ju, who was hiding in Sun-young's car, drugs him. He takes Sun-young to a secure location and ties him up to a chair. Yoon-jin shows up there to have a chat with him, and it is assumed that she kills him, pinning the blame on Mr. Kwon. Back in the present day, Yoon-jin and Yoon-jae show up at the house that Sung-kyu was kept in. Yoon-jin tries to bribe Sung-kyu, asking him to refrain from testifying against her in court. However, Sung-kyu mocks her for being nothing like Jae-won. This instigates Yoon-jin, and she slits Sung-kyu's throat, killing him instantly. She covers herself in Sung-kyu's blood and asks Yoon-jae to beat her up as per their plan. Yoon-jae flees after punching Yoon-jin, causing her to look like a victim. Jae-won and Tae-oh show up at the scene and are shocked by how Yoon-jin is being treated like a victim. On the other hand, Yoon-jin asks Tae-ju to flee and gives him a bag full of cash. He does so, not knowing what Yoon-jin had planned to do with him. Detective Oh interrogates Yoon-jin, who states that Tae-ju had told her about Sung-kyu's location. She claims that she had visited the place to meet Sung-kyu and talked to him one time, but adds that Tae-ju had gone rogue and killed him. Yoon-jin also alleges that Tae-ju had tried to kill her and had fled the scene before the cops could show up. The police go looking for Tae-jo but do not find him at his house. Yoon-jin shows up at Sung-kyu's funeral to pay her respects. Jae-won tells Yoon-jin that no secret could be hidden forever as she leaves. Detective Oh discusses how Tae-ju had indeed gone missing and there was a large transaction from his bank account. Jae-won recalls her conversation with Tae-ju on the night he had showed up at her house. During the conversation, Jae-won tells Tae-ju that he is disposable for Yoon-jin. Jae-won adds that he should reach out to her when Yoon-jin is done getting his help. Present-day Tae-ju is hiding in a small town, thinking about Jae-won's words. Meanwhile, Chang-suk is overwhelmed by guilt and confesses his crimes to the cops. Tae-oh tries to find dirt on Tae-ju and ends up finding a photo of Jae-won's mother with Tae-ju back when she was arrested for gambling. A flashback shows Jae-won's mother being questioned by Tae-ju after she was arrested. The woman gets away from being punished because of Jae-won. She also introduces Tae-ju to the world of gambling, eventually making him an addict who could not save his wife's life. In the present, Detective Oh talks to Detective Lee and wonders if he has heard from Tae-ju. Detective Lee reveals that Tae-ju was close to Yoon-jin and adds that she was the last person he was seen with. The next morning, reporter Choi publishes a report about Chang-suk's involvement in the death of Jae-won's mother. The news is published upon Yoon-jin's instruction. Chang-suk is arrested for killing Jae-won's mother. Jae-won tells Tae-oh that Chang-suk does not want her to help him but offers legal support to help free Chang-suk. That day, Yoon-jin shows up in prison to meet Mr. Kwon. Mr. Kwon wonders if Yoon-jin knows what she is doing and asks if she can handle it. Yoon-jin calls Mr. Kwon out for never trusting her and guilts him for making her who she is. Yoon-jae tells Yoon-jin that Tae-ju has gone missing. Tae-oh meets Detective Lee at a casino and learns that Tae-ju often visits his wife's tombstone. The next day, Detective Oh shows up at the tombstone to arrest Tae-ju, but he flees from there. Seeing how the case of Sung-kyu's murder has gone viral and his face is plastered all over the news, Tae-ju decides to have a chat with Jae-won. During their call, Tae-ju offers to help Jae-won trap Yoon-jin. When Jae-won refuses to trust him, Tae-ju gives Jae-won a hint about that night. In prison, Chang-suk breaks down while thinking about how he just let Jae-won's mother die for Jae-won's benefit. He recalls stopping the doctors from conducting an autopsy on Jae-won's mother's body to help him get away with the crime. The next day, Jae-won tells Tae-oh that she will ignore Tae-ju for the time being to prioritize her father's trial. She adds that Yoon-jin would want Chang-suk to be charged for her mother's death. Meanwhile, Yoon-jin asks Yoon-jae to figure out the evidence Tae-ju had to incriminate her of Sun-young's murder. The next day, Jae-won meets with Chang-suk's lawyer and learns that her stepfather had not actually committed the murder but had merely opted out of taking Jae-won's mother to the hospital. Jae-won also learns that since she was admitted to a mental institution, her testimony would not hold up in court. That night, Jae-won is engrossed in the court documents, trying to find a way to help Chang-suk when Tae-oh forces her to take her medication. Jae-won gets upset when Tae-oh continues to pester him to take the pills. Jae-won breaks down saying how she could not help her father by testifying in court for him. Tae-oh asks Jae-won to look after her health and eventually convinces her to take the pill. The next few days pass with Tae-oh and Jae-won working with the lawyer to help Chang-suk. Jae-won visits Chang-suk in prison and the two have a hearty chat. Jae-won asks Chang-suk to do as the lawyer says and asks him to refrain from confessing in court the following day. The next day, Yoon-jin shows up in court for Chang-suk's hearing. She has a conversation with Jae-won about her father, but Jae-won mocks Yoon-jin for never being loved by her father. During the hearing, the prosecution argues that Chang-suk had stopped the doctors from conducting an autopsy on Jae-won's mother. This information leaves Jae-won shocked as she wonders why Chang-suk hid the fact from her. Jae-won tries to meet one of her mother's friends and learns that Chang-suk has returned the money that her mother had borrowed from her. That night, Jae-won is perplexed when she finds no way to protect her father. She dreams of Sun-young and Chang-suk leaving her all alone and wakes up worried. Jae-won tells Chang-suk's lawyer that she had no witness who would testify in court. That night, Jae-won finds a box with a flash drive inside. The flash drive contains a clip from the night of Sun-young's murder. In the clip, Yoon-jin and Tae-ju hold Sun-young hostage. Mr. Kwon shows up and makes Sun-young drink pesticide, just like they did with Jae-won. Tae-ju, who was hiding inside Jae-won's house, tells her that he could help her make Yoon-jin suffer for her crimes and could also save Chang-suk. Tae-ju reveals how Jae-won's mother had gotten him addicted to gambling, which eventually caused his wife's death. The next day, Jae-won testifies in court and tries to turn the case in her father's favor. However, the prosecutor brings up Jae-won's bipolar disorder and her hallucinations. He asks Jae-won if she is completely cured and Jae-won hesitates but tells the court that she is still on medication. The prosecutor argues that Jae-won was not mentally fit to testify in court. Chang-suk notices Jae-won's suffering and confesses to killing Jae-won's mother as the episode comes to an end. The episode review. This episode, as well as the past few episodes, has me wondering if Yoon-jin and Yoon-jae are siblings. Mr. Kwon has likely forced Yoon-jae, his son, to cover up his dirty work while his princess daughter throws a hissy fit over Jae-won's accomplishments. The relationship Jae-won shares with her stepfather is poles apart from what Yoon-jin has with Mr. Kwon, and this can be seen with their respective prison visits with their fathers. It is so funny to me that Jae-won, despite knowing the gravity of her mental health issues, refuses to take her pills on time. It's like the woman wants to start hallucinating. Also, how does Yoon-jin know what Jae-won is up to and vice versa? The two are always aware of what the other person is up to, and it feels as though they are the same person.